Welcome to the Independent. I'm here with our guests, Curtis and Rick. They're from the San Diego chapter of the Green Party. And Curtis and Rick, if you don't mind taking it away, will you guys please tell me a little bit about what the Green Party is about and what it stands for?
You want to go first, or shall I?
Go ahead, Rick. You're the expert.
Okay, so we are a grassroots party that's independent of the two major parties, the Republican Party and the Democratic Party, because we don't believe in parties that are basically under corporate control with dark money coming in. And in order to give a sense of where we come from, everybody knows, or everybody, I think when they first hear the word Green Party, they think about environmentalism.
Right.
And we are obviously an environmental party, but we also believe in what we call our four pillars, which are environmentalism or ecology, peace, social justice, and democracy. And those really are the framework for everything else we do. Then we could go on in greater detail about some of these other things. And in overwhelming detail, we have our platform. I should say that a lot of this stuff is available on the website of the U.S. Party.
Okay.
It's very easy to remember, gp.org, the letters gp.org. And you can find about a lot of these kinds of things. But if you come away with nothing but we are a grassroots party, independent of the Democrats and Republicans, you've got the take-home message.
Got it. And Rick and Curtis, if you don't mind me asking, what got you involved in politics in the first place? Was there something that took place in your life? Because one of the things I've always noticed is a lot of people don't actually, everybody loves to talk about politics, but very few actually want to do something about it, like join an organization, go on podcasts, do interviews, try to, recruit other people and talk to other people about their ideas. What got you to the point to where you wanted to take those extra steps? And what was there something that happened that led you towards the Green Party? Were you maybe originally a Democrat or Republican and kind of found your way? What started that journey?
Curtis, you want to go ahead?
Sure. Kind of probably not unusual. I actually grew up conservative. I was very conservative in my teens and 20s, and then started drifting left. Mm-hmm. My entry to politics really came around 2008 with the Proposition 8, the ballot measure to ban gay marriage, if you will, same-gender marriage. So I became very involved in the Decline to Sign campaign, where we were trying to convince people not to sign the ballot. And I just kept working with many other people. Unfortunately, it passed, as I'm sure you're aware of. But my interest in politics continued on, and I've been registered Green for a long time. And I guess about a year ago, decided this is enough. I need to be more involved. So I started getting involved in the local party.
Nice. How about for you, Rick?
I would say my story is exactly the opposite, actually. that I've been politically active for as long as I could remember. That I grew up in a family where social justice was one of our key values. Mm-hmm. That my parents and my grandparents were socialists, longtime socialists. And so I just was immersed in that sort of environment. Even though they moved sort of to the right, they became Democrats over time, whereas I sort of moved to the left. And then in the 60s, I became active in the civil rights movement and later the anti-Vietnam War movement. And at that point decided to make a pretty serious commitment. Although I have to say I was never 100% a political activist. I always had too many other interests and concerns that distracted me over time,
Right.
including raising a family with 2 kids and
Right.
or helping with my wife to raise a family with 2 kids and that sort of stuff. So that and then I don't know if you want me to go into it, but how I made the transition into the Green Party.
Yeah, that would be great. How did that take place?
It actually, I got involved with the Green Party with Peter Camejo's 2006 campaign in California, which he called "A Million Votes for Peace."
Okay.
Remember, this was 2 or 3 years after the U.S. invasions of Iraq and Afghanistan, and we never did get 1 million votes for peace. But I found it an inspiring campaign, and in particular, I was strongly influenced and worked with Peter Camejo. I don't know if you know him by name or not, but he had been Ralph Nader's vice presidential candidate in 2004, and I believe in 2000 as well. In 2000, they ran a Green Party campaign. And what resonated with me with Peter was not only was he an environmentalist, but he was also a socialist. And that was the sort of thing that I was looking for. So I got involved with the Green Party through that 2006 campaign.
Let me ask, does the Green Party, I guess, is socialism part of the Green Party, or is that kind of something more that maybe you just kind of lean towards?
Yes and no.
Okay. And if you could elaborate that, I'd appreciate that.
Okay. So what I mean by that is there's an old joke that's transposable to the Green Party, which is get 2 Greens together and you have 3 different opinions. And that's kind of the way we function. So that when the Green Party first emerged in the United States and also internationally in the middle to late 1980s, it was not an eco-socialist party. Eco-socialism as an idea started to evolve independently at around the same time. But within the last few years, the Green Party has called itself an eco-socialist party. And what that means is, at least I think we can agree on this within the Green Party, that there's a systemic problem with our society. And that problem is due to basically the billionaires running the whole system for their own personal interests. And part of that is the degradation of the environment. So eco-socialism is a combination of a concern for the environment and a concern for the social systems that underlie the current destruction of the environment. But because many people have been in the Green Party longer than the Green Party has been eco-socialist, this is what I meant by the answer is yes and no. I would say not. It's not. There's no specific requirement to believe that. And in fact, the 4 pillars that I mentioned and also the 10 key values, which predate the eco-socialist term, don't say anything about eco-socialism. So we tend to speak for ourselves a lot.
Sure. Eco-socialism, that's a word I don't hear a lot,
We're working on it. We're working on it.
Right. But I think people do feel the idea that you're right. I mean, I think there's a lot of billionaires and, corporations, people of power that, they're changing the economy and society to fit their needs rather than the people's needs. And I think that's probably where a lot of people can feel that. I'm not, a lot of people, including myself, I'm not against hard work and people making a living and making more than the next person. But if it's at the expense of the environment, clean air, clean water, clean food, there's a point where we have to draw where we could draw the line.
I'd like to just add to that it's not
Sure.
that the people are bad, it's that the system is bad.
Mm.
And in fact, there's an organization that I used to be involved with, but I no longer have the time, called System Change, Not Climate Change. And I think that captures the idea. I mean, whoever runs Schultz, whoever runs Starbucks, he's not a good guy, probably. But the point isn't to say you're a bad person. It's that the system is based on the wrong set of principles. It's not based on the idea of serving the people.
So now that since we're on the topic of systems, what are your thoughts about how do we change? What are some small things we could do, or even big things? What are some things that we can do to change the system to make it better for everybody?
Curtis, you want to take a stab at that?
Yeah, I'll hack at it. I think a big part we could do is to get money out of politics. Right now, it's incredible how much money is spent on campaigns, and that money largely comes from wealthy donors, corporations, and PACs. I refuse to believe that someone can receive millions of dollars in donations and not be influenced by who gave it to them. Right. So I think a publicly funded campaign and election would free people from that obligation to the people who finance them to get there.
Yeah, and one of the things that I've always felt about the two-party system is that a lot of them talk about democracy and the importance of democracy, but what they really maybe you don't agree with this, but I feel like they're more concerned about power than they are about democracy.
Yes,
and that's
why
I
think we can all agree.
And that's kind of why they like the idea of keeping money in politics, not removing it. And I agree with you. I think probably one of the first steps we need to do is take money out of politics.
If I could just
feel that same way.
If I could add to that, I think some of the things that the Green Party advocates in our platform are public financing of campaigns. Mm-hmm. It's nominally available in some places under certain circumstances, but it's extremely restrictive and limited. And we need to expand the access to public financing so ordinary people have a chance. In addition, we need to overturn Citizens United. Yep. Money is not speech.
Right.
I mean, most of us can tell the difference. Maybe the Supreme Court can't tell the difference, but we should be able to educate them or change them or do something about it and get the dark money out so we know where the money is coming from. We ran campaigns in the just past 2022 election in the primaries, and in order to get on the ballot in California, you need to basically raise between $8,000 and $10,000. Now, for the Democrats and Republicans, that's nothing. But we were running campaigns for people who work, school bus drivers, and ordinary people. $10,000 is a big chunk of change, and especially we were supporting 7 candidates. So that's a lot of money that we don't have. Right. And getting money out of politics is really important. And I know we were talking maybe before we came online about ranked choice voting and proportional representation. Yeah. But I think that's another important thing that probably we'll get around to discussing.
Yeah, and that I'm glad you brought that up, because I wanted to ask, does the Green Party have a stance on ranked choice voting? Is it pro ranked choice voting? Does it stay out of the conversation? What is the stance that Green Party has about ranked choice voting?
Do you want to take it or should I?
Well, I think the concepts of the platform definitely support it. I don't remember if it's specifically in the platform, but the platform does support, proportional representation, better representation for the individuals. And it would give people a chance to vote their conscience, because they could vote for that third party they believe in. And if that candidate doesn't win, their vote still gets counted for something else.
Yeah.
It is. I confirm that, at least my recollection is that it is in fact in the platform. And one of the things, so we advocate both for ranked choice voting, but we also advocate for getting rid of single seat districts in many cases. In fact, I was saying this to Curtis yesterday, or a few days ago, I think, in Ojai, in Ventura County,
Mhm.
they've established ranked choice voting for proportional representation for their city council,
Okay.
because they faced a problem where minority voters weren't being recognized because they were distributed across all of the districts, but they were strong enough to bring a case and win a referendum by basically 55 to 45% for proportional representation, including ranked choice voting. I can go into the technical details if you or anybody else cares about it, but this is something that's hardly been publicized, and I think it's
Right.
really an important event in California. I should say too, Australia provides an interesting example because they have a bicameral legislature, two houses like we have the House and the Senate.
Mhm.
One of them is elected by ranked choice voting in single member districts. The other one is elected by proportional representation. And in fact, the Greens have a better representation that more accurately reflects their proportion of strength within Australian population through the proportional representation side. In fact, one of the things in our program is to get rid of the Senate and also the Electoral College.
Right. Can you elaborate a little bit about what proportional representation kind of looks like, or how that works, and what a single district, when you say those things, what do you mean? I want to kind of bring that out so people can understand.
Well, should I just keep going here?
Sure.
Yep, please.
Okay, so single seat district is the kind of thing that we normally think about in California and San Diego County in particular, both for the Board of Supervisors and for the city councils in the various cities. They're divided up into districts. In San Diego City, there are 9 districts in the city council. And when you go in to vote, you vote for one candidate that represents that district. That's in distinction to a multi-seat district where, for example, if we change the way the rules worked in San Diego to work like they hopefully will work in Ojai, we would have 9 choices, and we could vote. We could rank our choices 1 through 9, or however many choices there happen to be, and then the ones with the 9 highest votes, leaving aside some technical details,
Sure.
would get elected. So that means, in the best case, if, let's say, the Green Party represented 20% of the population in each of the 9 districts now, we would have 0 representation.
Right.
Whereas in the proportional representation case, we would get approximately 2 out of those 9 votes in the city council, which is why it's so important to have proportional representation, because it would break through the barriers to democracy. It would break through some of them, at least.
Yeah. And I mean, I these are great ideas, and I think unfortunately a lot of people aren't even aware. When you start, talking about these issues, this is brand new stuff to most people. People like me and you, we've heard these things before. You especially very knowledgeable on it, but for most people, they don't even understand the impact of something like this that it has. One of the people that gets brought up a lot when we talk about Green Party is Ralph Nader. Some people might call him almost like the godfather of the Green Party. How do you feel about Ralph Nader and his contribution to the Green Party?
Should I keep going here?
Either one, either Rick or Curtis.
I wasn't involved in the Green Party at that time, so Rick could probably speak to that better.
That was the high point of Green Party activity in the U.S. That 2000 election. Actually, Ralph ran in 1996, but that was more of an experimental campaign. The Green parties were just getting organized at that time, and he consented to run as a sort of what do they call it? A shakedown cruise or something, to see if the bill was actually going to work or not.
Right.
2000, was in fact, if you look at the registration statistics in California, Green Party registration as a percentage of the electorate maxed out in 2000 and remained high until about 2004. And then it started declining after that. So I think Ralph was a great candidate. I think he really did a great job for the Green Party. It was unfortunate that the Democrats failed. I don't know if you remember the hanging chads in the 2000 election, which tipped the scales from Gore to Bush in the Bush v. Gore Supreme Court case. The Democrats just dropped the ball. They just failed to pursue that, and they decided rather to blame it on Ralph Nader voters. I could go into that more later with Jill Stein, but yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
What are some of the things, if you real quick had to say a few things that, the Green Party, when I bring up Green Party, it's really, people view that as just, Democrats on steroids. What would you say are some main pillars or main things that are different between the Democrats and the Green Party?
An interesting place to start is with the Green New Deal.
Okay.
The Green New Deal came out of the Green Party. I think it was actually, those words were used initially by the British Greens. One of the things that's worth keeping in mind, by the way, is that we are an international movement. Okay. Not only a U.S. movement, not only a San Diego County movement. There are Green parties all around the world. And they don't all agree with one another, but we're all Greens. So I've lost my train of thought here.
While you're, we brought up something I wanted to talk about, which is the Green New Deal.
Okay, that's what I want to talk about. The distinction between the Greens and the Democrats.
Yes.
And that's a clear example because, first of all, we were the ones who came up with the Green New Deal. And Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez took it from us. That's fine. But what happened? It got shunted into a situation in the House of Representatives where Nancy Pelosi, who's an extremely astute political actor, assigned it to 11 different committees, which would mean it could never, ever come out of committee, and then it finally died. So there's the difference. We came up with this idea. This is a core part of our values. They killed it.
And can you tell me a little bit about what is the Green New Deal?
I'm not prepared to go through it in detail. It's been a while, but the basic idea is we need to reset our economy, just as the original New Deal in the 1930s led us to Social Security, led us to the Wagner Labor Relations Act that was a central factor in organizing industrial unions, the CIO in the 1930s. These were transformations of the existing society. And we think that in order to realize the goals that climate change, to keep the climate within 1.5 degrees centigrade between now and 2030 requires dramatic changes in the way our economy is organized and run, and the purposes for which things are built and the ways in which things are built. That's basically the Green New Deal.
Okay. One of the things that I always try to change, because, I'll be honest with you, I do believe in climate change. I'm also in the solar business. That's what I do as my occupation. I have a small solar company. And one of the things I've always noticed is most people, I'll be honest with you, most people never go solar just for the environment. They do it to save money. And to be honest with you, it is a cheaper way to get your energy. So it's a smart, if you own a home, it's a great way to save money. And the benefit is, you're not running on fossil fuels. Now, one of the hard parts is, and I'll tell you one thing, out here, in San Diego, there's an area, East County, which is highly traditionally Republican area. One thing I notice every time I go out there, I would see two things. I would see Trump flags and I would see solar panels many times on those same homes.
Right.
And it really dawned on me, it made me realize that, maybe Republicans won't get on board with the climate change conversation, but they will get on board with the self-sufficiency conversation. The benefits of owning our own energy source as citizens. I know as people talk about home ownership and the American dream and controlling your destiny, which I'm all for. I'm all for self-sufficiency, and I wish we could change some of the conversation to bring that into renewables, specifically solar, and talk about how we do have an opportunity to own our energy source as citizens and not be beholden to SDG&E or PG&E or Southern California Edison. And if you're fortunate enough to have an electric car where you can now be your own gas station, it doesn't matter which Chevron is charging or what Arco is charging per gallon. You have something that's set already. You're controlling your own energy source, and we're no longer beholden to these fossil fuel companies. I kind of wish we could change the conversation more to that. I don't know. Do you have specific thoughts? Do you think that's a good way to go? Or, the reason I say that is not that I think the science part of it is wrong. It's just some people, to them, it's a religion almost, and they're just not. No matter how much you talk to them about the science on climate change, they're just not going to change their mind. Any thoughts on that?
Well, I am in favor of renewable energy, but I often tell people the cleanest energy is the energy we don't use. So even with the solar panels and other forms of renewable energy, it's important to think about how we use energy, even in our cars, houses, whatever. But you're right. In East County, there are a lot of solar panels. I've noticed that some of them are huge, raised solar panels. It's kind of funny, and I think that momentum is not going to stop. You look at electric cars; the prices keep dropping lower and lower. Yeah. Solar gets cheaper and cheaper, and it's just. I think it's starting to go beyond politics, where it doesn't matter about politics. People see, like you said, that they can save money and control their own destiny. And with the gas prices, it makes sense to have solar at your house and an electric car you can charge at your house.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, please.
Oh, no, go ahead, Rick, please, go ahead.
There's a company that has been advertising on my Facebook page for some reason called Patriot Supply. Okay. And it fits exactly your description. What they're selling are batteries and other accessories to work with solar panels, but they're selling it from a survivalist standpoint. And it's not an accident that they call themselves Patriot Supply. Works for me. It's fine. I don't care.
Yeah.
But the real thing that we need to figure out is to go back to what I was saying before. How do we change the way things are organized? How do we change the way in which businesses are rewarded? And I think that's different for small companies and for huge corporations to get the kinds of changes we need. I think especially this year is a very wet year, which is nice, but the forest fires of the last few years, I think, have gotten many people thinking about what's our future going to be like.
Right.
And we need to change things. We need to change and we don't need to do that by sacrificing. We need to do it by actually making our lives better.
Right. Yep. Now, one thing that doesn't really get into the conversation a lot when it comes to climate change and renewables is hemp. I'm a big proponent of hemp and growing hemp. Especially. It's a great rotation crop. We're losing our topsoil here in our country, which is essential for our food security. It captures 4 times the amount of carbon that a tree does, so it's great for helping with climate change. We have our fossil fuels for plastic, and hemp is a great alternative, but it doesn't seem to be getting a lot of traction or conversation from Democrats. Does the Green Party have any stance on hemp, or do they even talk about it? Is it a talking point for you guys?
I had to go back and do some research on this, but what I found was that there was a platform amendment in 2010 to incorporate some of the things you're saying about hemp into our platform. It was voted down. It didn't pass. So our platform just doesn't take any position about hemp. It just doesn't. It just doesn't come up, as far as I know. At least I couldn't find anything about it.
Yeah.
I don't know enough to have an informed opinion about it, frankly.
Okay. Yeah, once I started kind of going down that rabbit hole of hemp, the fact, for me, the fact that it grows pretty, because it's a weed, it grows easy in just about all the 50 states except maybe Alaska, but and just the ability to rejuvenate soil. When you start to learn about how we're losing our topsoil, how it captures the carbon and puts it back into the ground, and how we could use it as fuel, how we could use it as a plastic, which, once you start going down the plastic rabbit hole, and some of the effects it's having on the oceans, on our bodies, it's, in our food, everything. I really encourage people to start looking into it, because I think it's something that can really help change things and can really help everybody in all the states. So I'm hoping we go that direction. So let me ask you, is there, for somebody out there who's maybe on the fence about, they don't see themselves as a Democrat or Republican, there maybe, some of these ideas are maybe attractive to them. Is there a book or is there a movie or a documentary, something that you maybe read or saw that drew you to the Green Party, that you could recommend? Say, hey, this is a really good start in terms of your, somebody's on that journey of trying to figure out some solutions and ideas. Is there something you would recommend?
I think just reading through the platform on the U.S. website has a tremendous amount of information and insight into the Green Party's positions. And talk about rabbit holes. It's a very extensive platform. You could spend hours reading through that and researching things. So I would recommend starting there.
Okay.
Yeah, I have several. I agree with what Curtis is saying. And sometime maybe we can come back to, I know this is a boring technical detail, but the organization of the Green Party, that we're organized at county, state, federal, and international levels. And is whether we can look at the Green Party platform, the U.S. Green Party platform, but we can also look at this California state platform. And that has specific things to California. I would suggest people might want to look into a couple of things to read, or three actually. You may know the name Howie Hawkins. He was a 2020 presidential candidate for the Green Party. Jill was 2016 and Howie was 2020. And he's got an ebook, which is available for free, called The Case for an Independent Left Party. And that you can download that. I can put the link on somewhere. And that's, I think, a good place to get started. Like anything else, as I was saying before, 2 greens, 3 opinions. So nothing I'm going to say here is going to represent everybody within the Green Party. Right. I'm also reading, let me see if I have it here, a book that is not specifically about the Green Party, but I don't know, can you, let's see, can you see that?
Yep.
Breaking the Impasse.
The Impasse, yep.
Breaking the Impasse by Kim Moody.
Okay.
And this is a very good critique of the limitations of the 2-party system. He's a really knowledgeable guy, and sometimes it gets a little detailed, but it's definitely worth reading. And here's a third one.
Facing the Apocalypse.
Facing the Apocalypse. Yeah, this is actually published in Britain, but it is in English. And I bought it online. It's easy to find online. And this talks about a lot of the things having to do with eco-socialism, for example, although Alan Thornett is not a Green. But okay, so those are my 3 suggestions. And that should keep you out of trouble for a few weeks.
Good. Now, let me have have Green Party candidates won in California, or that you know of, maybe close by, or that's
Yes,
sometimes a critique. And if so, if you
yes.
can elaborate on that, thank you.
It, it is true that Green Party candidates winning elections are rare events, but they do happen, and they especially happen at the local level. I should have actually done more preparation on this. In San Diego County, we don't have a very good record. We have very few Greens who've run for office. We did have a Green who was elected to the school board a few years back. She's still on the school board. Unfortunately, she's not a Green any longer. She switched under pressure to become a Democrat, but she won as a Green.
Yeah.
We have in LA County, the mayor of Monterey Park, I believe, is a Green.
Okay.
There are a number of other Greens who have office at the local. Oh, there's a mayor in Imperial County whose name I've forgotten now, who won in 2018, and I'm is probably still in office. So one of the problems we have, among many problems, is there's largely a press blackout. We very rarely read about anything other than the Democrats and Republicans, and even less commonly do we read about the Greens. So in the rare but real cases where we win, nobody even knows about it.
Right.
And they're kind of obscure positions, like there's a fire in Montecito. There's a fire district, and there's a Green on the Montecito Fire District board. It's that sort of thing.
Okay.
We had the closest we've come, I would say, in California to winning a sort of top of the headline sort of office was in 2020 in San Francisco, where Matt Gonzalez ran for mayor and almost won. In fact, they had to bring Bill Clinton and a bunch of other Democrat honchos in to beat Matt. In Santa Monica, there was a Green city councilor who later became a mayor of Santa Monica for a while. So they're rare, but rare events, but they do happen.
Great. Awesome. Well, and can you elaborate again? I'm going to be kind of wrapping up here. I've had a great conversation with you guys, and I really appreciate you coming on my podcast and talking about what
you don't appreciate it as much as we do.
I think there's a lot of great ideas you have, and I hope people, when they watch this, realize that there's a political party out there that is really about the environment and changing, like you said, the systems that we can change in order to make our society better, our country better. If you don't mind, one more time, saying how can people get in contact with the Green Party if they want to learn more about it, go to some events? How could they do that?
One of the best ways to get more information is online through our website.
Okay.
I was saying how we're structured at various levels, and in San Diego County, you can go to sdgreenparty.org.
Okay.
And learn a lot about what we're doing at the local level, and it also has links to the state level and the national level. The state level is cagreens.org, and the national level is gp.org. So those are good places to start. If you want to, if you're on Facebook, we have a Facebook page for at all of these levels, actually. We have a dormant Twitter feed. If anybody wants to find a way for working with the Green Party and they'd like to have a Twitter feed or an Instagram account, we're open to suggestions. You can email us through the website, and you can ask to be invited to one of our meetings, which are lately been on Zoom mostly.
Yeah.
I don't know. Is there any more that I should add to answer your question?
No, I think that's great. Like I said, I just want to say thank you so much for coming on. It's been a great interview, And, for the people out there, check out the Green Party, look at some of their solutions to some of the problems we face, and check us out again at the next episode of The Independent. Have a great day, everybody.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
So much.